If I had to sum this book up in one sentence, it would be this. This is a book that shines a spotlight on the voices we were always meant to hear. This book isn't just clever, it's important. It's funny, heartbreaking, and deeply self aware. Charles Yu gives voice to a community that is too often spoken over. And for that reason, I'd recommend it to anyone, especially Asian Americans. But also, anyone who wants to understand what it's like to live in a script someone else wrote for you. You're walking through a bookstore, not quite sure what to pick up. The air smells like old pages and new stories waiting to be discovered, maybe even written, yours included. Titles call up from every shelf. There's so much to choose from, it's almost overwhelming. You stop at a small desk. Behind it sits a woman. She smiles and says, "How can I help you?" You glance down at her nameplate. Her name is Ophelia. Her title? Resident Bookworm. Hi, I'm Ophelia, and welcome to Control Alt Read, a podcast about the books we read, the stories they tell, and what they really mean. Today we're talking about Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. This is a novel that's funny, biting, and written like a screenplay. But don't let that format fool you. This is a deep, layered look at what it means to be Asian in America. Have you ever felt like you're stuck in the background, always playing generic extra instead of the lead? If so, this book might just hit home. Interior Chinatown follows Willis Wu, a Taiwanese American man living in a Chinatown SRO who dreams of becoming Kung Fu Guy, the highest role an Asian actor can hope for in the world he lives in. This world is literally a TV show, and everyone is stuck playing a role, Asian stereotypes included. I love how this book uses its script-like format to show how Asian Americans are boxed in, not just on screen, but in real life. As the daughter of Chinese immigrants, I found it hauntingly relatable. There is this eerie sense of being almost visible but never quite seen. Charles Yu captures that tension, the ache of trying to fit in while knowing that the roles were never written for us in the first place. For example, I don't think this is something you have to be Asian to relate to within this book. It's that feeling of only being offered option A, option B, or option C from society or whatever institution that you may be in. Whether it's work or family dynamics, being presented with a menu. It takes bravery and courage to be able to break out of that mold and to choose your own path. And this is a theme that Charles Yu explores really well within this book. Another theme that really stuck with me was that of familial obligation. When one of the older SRO residents is waiting by the phone, hoping for his son to call. When that call finally comes, he's so overwhelmed with joy that he slips in the shower. This crushed me. I think so many second generation kids, myself included, feel this tension. We want to succeed in our own lives, but sometimes we know that we're emotionally distant from the people who sacrifice the most for us. That guilt, that love, it's real, and this book nails it. Moving on to representation and media, the script format worked so well for this story. It made the whole thing feel surreal, theatrical, and self aware, because that's exactly what life can feel like when you're navigating a world that only sees you as a stereotype. Growing up, I absolutely noticed the lack of Asian representation in media. We have come a lot further since then, but there's just so much more progress to be made. When Asians were included, it was usually as background characters or caricatures. In fact, when I was in middle school, I loved to write, but all of my main characters were Caucasian. I was going off of what I had seen in the movies. On another note about representation, there is a scene in the book where Willis thinks reaching the Kung Fu Guy status will finally mean success, finally being seen. And I think a lot of us know that feeling. If I just get that title, that job, that validation, I'll finally be enough. But you flips that. What matters isn't the role that society gives you, it's the relationships you build and the truth you live. That realization from Willis stuck with me. What is true success? What is true validation, and from where should we find that? Moving on to the historical layering within this book, Yu doesn't just explore the modern identity. No, he connects it to a painful, very real history. I learned about laws I never heard of before. To name a few off the bat, the Chinese Exclusion Act, the Geary Act, land ownership bans, even citizenship laws for women who married Chinese men. Learning about this piece was sobering. And these laws are not ancient history. When my grandparents immigrated, these laws were not far off. They were recent. And in the context of American history, a century isn't that long ago. It's still within living memory. These laws shaped the world my family walked into. I mean, here are just a few examples. 1859 Oregon. No Chinese person can own property. 1882. The Chinese Exclusion Act bans Chinese laborers from immigrating. 1920. The Cable Act revokes citizenship from U.S. women who marry Chinese men. 1924. The Immigration Act completely bans immigration from Asia. Yes, these laws were eventually repealed, but they weren't just laws. They were messages about who belonged and who didn't, and those echoes are still felt today. Now, moving on to what I wish this book had also included. This book focuses on the Asian American male experience, and I think it would have been powerful as well to include more about the Asian American female experience, especially around the sexualization of Asian women within media. I saw a movie called The Other Woman, released in 2014, and there's a scene in the movie where the main characters, who are not Asian, go to a Thai restaurant. The servers are Thai women, and the restaurant is called No Hands. Can you guess why? Oh, wait. Here's why. It is called No Hands because they feed and touch you. You're not allowed to pick up one utensil. This is a classic example of a script where Asian women are typecast simply as sexy, submissive Asian women. They have no names, no voices, and this isn't just lazy writing, it's dehumanizing. I remember watching this and thinking, is this really what the world thinks of us? Also, I've personally experienced microaggressions that echoed that same alienation that Charles Yu does such a great job of exploring within this book. In college, a resume workshop instructor told the room to make sure that you list English as a skill on your resume because you never know, in her words. And then she looked around pointedly at the Asian students. It got a laugh, but she was dead serious. That's the kind of outsider feeling Yu captures so well in Interior Chinatown. That feeling of always being almost in, but never fully accepted. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Control Alt Read. I hope this book resonated well with you, sparked a thought, or brought you closer to your own story. If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow the podcast for more reflections, reviews, and reads worth sharing. Until next time, take care and happy reading.